Russia's rich folkloric tradition stems from a deeply ingrained pagan belief in magic forces that rule all aspects of one's existence. In the past, many spooky, beautiful, or funny creatures appeared in tales Slavic people used to tell children before bed. And even in modern times, a great number of fascinating creatures are believed to inhabit Russian woods and lakes. Thanks to the development of modern technology, we can see many of these creatures on the screen, in movies and in PC games. The Slavic folklore has been inspiring filmmakers for decades, but it has never attracted so much attention as it did with the fantasy world of the Netflix TV series, The Witcher. One of the creatures featured in the series is Kikimora. The scary spider-like creature appears in the first opening scene, where it fiercely attacks the main character, Geralt the Witcher, in a gloomy swamp site. But how close is this portrayal to the original Kikimora mythology from Slavic tales? Let's compare them and see. So, what is a Kikimora? Kikimora is a legendary creature, a predominantly negative female house spirit in Slavic mythology. Many ancient Slavic tales keep memories of Kikimora, yet we can find the most detailed story about her in Russia. There are two different kinds of Kikimori, plural of Kikimora. The one that comes from the forest is frequently believed to be married to the domovoi, a male house spirit of greater powers and standing. The other one comes from the swamp, and she is married to an entity called the Leshi. You can tell she is around by her wet footprints. Kikimori can be helpful or malevolent, depending on the behavior of the homeowner. When a Kikimora inhabits a house, she lives behind the stove or in the cellar, and usually produces noises similar to those made by the mice in order to obtain food. When the house is in order, Kikimora looks after the chickens and housework. If not, she whistles, breaks dishes, and makes noises at night. She also comes out at night to spin. Etymology of the name Kikimora. The English Kikimora possibly comes from the Russian Kukumora, a name whose meaning is debated. According to some, the name may have derived from the Finnish word kikkamurt for scarecrow, or the Slavic mora for the dead. Other suggestions link the etymology to words for demon, death, crookedness, nightmares, crying, howling, burden, dissatisfaction, anxiety, hopelessness, etc. The connection of the name with concepts of death, crying, and howling makes the most sense, as the Kikimora, among its many other nocturnal activities, was believed to be the cause of sleep paralysis, during which a person is awake but immobilized. It was believed to be a dark spirit that took the form of a beautiful woman and then visited men in their dreams, torturing them with desire, and was thought to be sitting on the person's chest during this time, preventing them from even crying out and terrorizing them with thoughts of dying. In fact, Kikimora was the first traditional explanation for sleep paralysis in Russian folklore. Origin. The concept of a household spirit appears in cultures around the world from antiquity to the present. The manes, lares, and penates of ancient Rome served some of the same basic purposes as Bess in ancient Egypt, the brownie of Scotland and England, or of any other wee folk who invisibly inhabit the house as protectors of the family and helpers, as long as they and their environment are honored and treated with respect. If they are not, they cause trouble in some way related to the perceived insult. And so, for example, if they are not remembered with a snack left out on the kitchen table, Instead of tidying up during the night, they might hurl the ashes from the hearth around the room. The Kikimora may have originated in the legend featuring Swarog, the god of the sky, fire, the hearth, and smithing in pre-Christian Slavic religion. In this tale, Swarog creates an ideal space in the heavens for all the beautiful entities that surround him. But, in time, a number of these spirits become dissatisfied with their paradise and want things their own way. The spirits conspire to overthrow Swarog, but he is a god after all, and knows of their plan before they can set it in motion. He catches the conspirators and hurls them out of the heavens down to earth, where he decrees they will remain. They fall through the skies and into the chimneys of homes, becoming lodged in the earth. Repenting their foolishness, they vow to look after the inhabitants of the houses by keeping the fire going, warning the family of possible dangers, and helping to maintain order and bright energies in the home. Christianity suppressed Slavic pagan beliefs or transformed them, and many details of the old faith have been lost. There is, therefore, no definite date available for the appearance of the Kikimora in Slavic culture, nor for this particular tale, and so the connection is entirely speculative. It is possible, however, that the concept of the particularly Slavic household spirit originated or was influenced by this tale, as the Kikimora and Domovoi is almost always associated with the hearth and is said to live behind the stove. Even so, in legend, their origin has nothing to do with the hearth, but often involves a variety of events thought to give them life. How does a Kikimora come into being? There are many versions of the origin of Kikimora, or Kikimori. One of them says that Kikimori are babies who died unbaptized. Another version says that Kikimori are children from a vicious connection with a fiery serpent. In some accounts, stillborn children and miscarriages were thought to become a Kikimora, as well as the tragic death of an infant or young child, a woman, either before marriage, in childbirth, or old age, or a woman being seduced by a demonic entity. The soul of a woman who committed suicide was also thought likely to become a Kikimora, as well as those of matriarchs who were used to supervising the home and refused to leave at death. Children cursed by their parents for any reason were also considered likely candidates, as the curse called the devil's attention to the child, who then began to work his influences until the soul of the child faded into a Kikimora. Appearance. In the Russian lore, Kikimoras have been portrayed anywhere from a grotesquely deformed, small, gnarled, ugly old woman dressed in torn rags, to a fair maiden with a long braid, completely naked or in a one-color shirt. In some accounts, they are described as ugly dwarves or babies, whose head is like a thimble and the body is as thin as a straw. They are naked, forever young girls, small and restless. However, all portrayals have several common traits. Kikimoras tend to have various degrees of noticeable physical deformities, usually from a chicken, but also from a rabbit or a dog. They wear headscarf and are able to assume different forms. The swamp Kikimora is usually described as a very small, thin, hunchbacked, scruffy and ugly old woman, with pointed nose and long, disheveled, shaggy black or grey hair. She wraps herself up in moss as if it were a fur coat, and weaves forest plants and grasses in her hair instead of ribbons. Occasionally, the Kikimora was presented in the guise of a man. She might also take on the image of a deceased family member, or appear as a hairy, goat-like entity with glowing eyes and horns. She can also take the form of a frog, a toad, a goose, a black cat, a dog, a pig, a duck, a hare, and a hamster. Behaviors. Kikimora usually haunt the dwellings if the corpse of a child, a hanged or unsung deceased, was buried under them, or in the house where the child died for any reason. Also, when home builders wanted to do something harmful to the person buying the house, they would invite a Kikimora in. Once inside, it is difficult to get her to leave. These spirits may also be sent by a sorcerer. Kikimoras are elusive and tend to inhabit the crevices behind the hearth, large brick stoves, under the floorboards, or in the attics. They are also funny and sloppy, and are afraid of being blown away by the wind, which is why they do not leave the house. They have the ability to be invisible, run fast, and see far away. Kikimori love to joke with people and sometimes appear in the form of a child abandoned on the way. Picked up by people, they run away, laughing at them. They are also believed to be the cause of mundane annoyances such as the loss of common objects. If one could not find one's rake or hoe or lantern, it might be blamed on a Kikimora, and they are under no obligation to return anything. Is Kikimora always bad? Most often Kikimora is bad, but not always. The Kikimora who is married to the male household spirit known as a domovoi is generally benevolent. If the house is clean and tidy, she could pitch in and help with the work. Occasionally, the Kikimora was even considered a female helper in baking bread, washing dishes, caring for livestock, and lulling children. The swamp Kikimora, sometimes associated with the entity Leshy, frightens people, knocks travelers off the road, and sometimes even drowns them. She also kidnaps children and unsuspecting adults who stray into the wild. She can create swamp lights on the surface of the water to lure people, or grow intoxicating plants with the same purpose. The swamp Kikimora is rarely seen by humans, as she can become invisible, and this is how she usually travels. Though she prefers swamps as a habitat, sometimes she is seen walking across forests, lakes, and rivers. This Kikimora is quick-tempered and antagonistic, and is drawn to homes with dark energy, such as those in which domestic abuse is a daily occurrence. The family is first aware of her presence in the morning by her wet footprints across the floors, but soon come to know her wrath regularly as she breaks items, causes food to spoil, steals objects, causes nightmares, and may even abduct children, especially those who were cursed by their parents, leaving an enchanted log in its place. The abducted child would then be raised to become a Kikimora. A common fear had to do with the changeling, a demon child who replaced one's actual child, usually in infancy, and this was associated with a Kikimora. The spirit was thought to enter through the keyhole of a house, replace one's child with her own, and leave quietly to raise the baby as a Kikimora. Once the Kikimora's child is switched with the mortal infant, the parents raise it as their own, until they notice peculiar behavior that alerts them to the child's true identity as a Kikimora. Kikimoras are believed to be bad spirits, not only because they like to scare human children, but because they may cause children's death or stillbirth. On top of that, Kikimora may even cause the death of the woman in labor. As the spirit was understood as female, girls were primarily at risk, but it seems young boys may have also been transformed. Young women of marriageable age were thought especially susceptible to diabolical magic in the form of handsome young men, actually demons, who seduced them with lavish gifts, or usually left enticing items along paths the woman would walk. And if she brought one home, she gave the demon permission to enter the house. Once the demon had impregnated the woman, he left and the gifts turned to ash. Her child would be born deformed with pointy ears and then become a Kikimora. Is there any protection from Kikimora? Kikimora is a powerful and mean, but there are some ways which are known to be efficient defenses against this grumpy spirit. According to the stories, what Kikimora especially dislike is messiness and clumsiness. They enter such households through the keyhole, and once they inhabit a place, it's very difficult to get them to leave. If one wishes to rid oneself of a Kikimora, the surest way is to keep a home so clean that she gets bored and leaves. This belief inspired women to be diligent about housework. Similarly, children were told that the Kikimora was attracted by noise at night, and so they should be quiet and go to bed when told, or a Kikimora would take their breath, give them terrible nightmares, or take them away. This encouraged an orderly nighttime routine. Also, to repel Kikimoras, children are advised to look at the window or to turn the pillow and make a sign of cross on it. Since the tales say that she enters households through keyholes, the custom was to always keep the key inside or to put a piece of paper in the keyhole to prevent her from entering. In the early 19th century, people would repel Kikimoras by leaving a broom upside down behind the door, or putting their belt on top of their sheets, or saying an elaborate prayer poem before they went to sleep. Kikimora's favorite hobby is weaving, especially during major religious holidays such as Christmas, when such activity is not advised to humans. On the night before Christmas, they whip and burn the toe, left without prayer by the scattered spinners. Sometimes they can spin the yard all night long, with absolutely no results to show for in the morning. It was believed that the Kikimora can be seen before special events significant to the family members. Most often, she is seen standing at the doorstep. If she cries or knocks loudly with bobbins for lace weaving, this portends trouble. If she is spinning, then someone's death should be expected. If a person asks Kikimora a question, she can answer with a knock. She is sometimes associated with witches, and some of the possible origins of witches were linked with the creation of a Kikimora. The association of the Kikimora with witches seems to have sometimes linked the spirit with the infamous witch Baba Yaga, who flew through the skies in a mortal propelled by a pestle, searching for children she could make into her evening meal. Just as Baba Yaga preyed on the young, so did a Kikimora, and both had significant supernatural powers. This aspect of the Kikimora is at odds with her role as a benign protector and helper in the home, but is understood as applying most often to only one of the two kinds of the Kikimora. The figure developed at some point prior to the 8th to 13th century, when Slavic paganism was replaced by Christianity. Even after the acceptance and spread of Christianity, which devalued and dismissed many Slavic supernatural entities, the Kikimora continued as a reality in Slavic households, simply because the belief helped maintain order and discipline and explained the otherwise unexplainable, including night terrors, missing items, deaths of women and children, and strange noises or occurrences around the home. Belief in the Kikimora continues in the present day through Slavic folk religion and its association with the devil and demonic forces in Slavic Christianity. Kikimora from the Witcher series. Judging from the content of the novel series, The Witcher, Written by Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski, Kikimora doesn't look much like the one from Slavic folklore. Its body resembles that of a spider. Only the head has loose similarity with the human body. Also, it is not a spirit willing to scare and kill children. It is a widely known animal-like demon, with a life organized in a large community dedicated to the Queen. Not every Kikimora looks the same in the TV series. There are 3 sorts of Kikimoras: the workers, the warriors, and the Queen. The workers are smaller and look like spiders. On the other hand, warriors and the Queen resemble beetles. Each of these 3 kinds plays a strict role in the Kikimora world hierarchy. The workers are mostly filthy and extremely dedicated. These monsters are usually minding their own business, trying to be of use to their Queen. However, when they feel threatened, they turn into dangerous, venomous creatures ready to find and kill those who disturb their demonic life. Their job is to search for food in order to feed the Queen. The only thing Kikimora warriors search for is some enemies to use their deadly tentacles on. The warriors are fierce, massive creatures with sharp barbs, teeth, and extremities, and loads of venom. The Queen is so powerful and frightening that even the mighty witcher Geralt never dared to stand up to her. Running away fast seems to be the only effective way to survive an encounter with her. Her domicile is a dry and ugly desert covered in corpses of her enemies. However, there are also some similar traits between the witcher Kikimora and Kikimora from the fairy tales. Both Kikimoras live around boggy places, and they get out mostly during the night. Also, both are feminine beings. The bottom line. Setting out to compare the ancient folkloric Kikimora and its counterpart from the contemporary books and TV series, we see that the author of The Witcher significantly changed Kikimora's looks, virtually making it a new creature. However, the mean nature of a spirit stayed the same. Today we know that with time, stories naturally change, especially the ancient ones. That is how Kikimora became a character of an epic fantasy novel, movie, and a PC game called The Witcher. The original story about Kikimora comes from a time when there was no internet or modern medicine to explain all the nightmarish things that could happen to the human body. Kikimora was a way people made sense of the enigmatic and baffling events and experiences. However, nothing is lost in this disparity. On the contrary, Kikimora was developed into other forms. It will be known to the children of the future, who will have some new horror stories to tell. Anyhow, the story of Kikimora, the mean house spirit, stays one of the scariest bedtime stories ever told. Thank you for watching this video. Please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.